Hi, my name is Teresa Richardson. Today I'm going to talk about tribal issues and emergency management. Today there are 566 tribal nations within the U.S. Most of these are in 36 states, 229 in Alaska, 337 in 35 other states. These are federally recognized tribes, meaning they have the ability to self-govern. However, prior to the Sandy Recovery Improvement Act of 2013, tribal nations could not ask for emergency declarations. They had to go through the states just like the county and city governments do today. Really what this did was dilute the needs of the tribal nations by the impact the disaster had on the states and counties. During the first year of the Recovery Act, 6 tribes took advantage and requested emergency declarations from the federal government directly, and these are listed here on the slide. For disasters and incidents, tribal governments face many of the same natural disasters as the other states and local governments in the U.S., storms, floods, and wildfires. There are unique disasters based on regions. So for example, in Alaska and Northwest, earthquakes, volcanoes, and tsunamis. And then of course we know here in the Southeast, hurricanes and tornadoes. But environmental disasters also affect tribal nations. In 2011, the oil rig spill affected 6 Gulf States tribes and 20,000 residents. And in 2015, the EPA released toxins from the Gold King mine, which released toxins within the Animas River, which affected the water supply of the Navajo Nation. For emergency management issues, they have large remote geographic areas which can quickly be isolated by floods and fire. Many residents live in rural and isolated areas, meaning that it's very difficult to reach them in the event of a major disaster. Communications are not available to all residents in these remote areas, and restoration is very slow after disasters. There is limited first responders and emergency managers to be able to respond to these incidents. Basically, the nations have mutual aid agreements with city and county resources that boundary their territories. However, in a widespread disaster, they compete for these resources based on the needs of the state, local, and county governments. Also, tribal areas are frequently visited by many visitors, both within the U.S. and internationally. Many times, flash floods can quickly bring terror to these visitors, and many times they do not know their locations, and it's very difficult for them to describe their locations to the first responders, and so sometimes rescue does take quite some time. So basically, tribal issues in emergency management are very similar to those that we face here, but then they have unique challenges based on their geographic areas. Thank you for your attention.